Hey, it's Mila. Welcome back to my channel.
I go around and I go around and I go around, I go around. I'm always out, I am always out, I am always out, I'm always out. I keep running so I don't have to go.
Guys, this is the first video of 2025. Like that, how crazy does that sound? How crazy does that sound? Literally what happened, I feel like this year took so long, but it also like passed by so fast. I finished off 2024 by basically doing like my personal wrap up. So if you haven't seen that, definitely go check that out. I think that was the video I posted like right before this one's coming out. This year was a bit of a mess, as I mentioned in my little wrap up video. Things happened that kind of like took my time away from reading, and school was like absolutely crazy, so I was not able to reach my goal, which sucks, but I still read so much and I want to show you everything that I went through this year. We have some nonfiction for the first time. I did really start getting into like self-help and nonfiction. There's also some books that I did start but I did not finish yet, so that you're only gonna see probably my January wrap up or just like at the end of 2025. You guys can kind of see maybe a little bit. I organized all of these into like chronological order. Oh my god, chronological order. We have a bit of everything. We have fantasy, we have thrillers, we have romance, dark romance, sport romance, just like any type of romance out there. So yes, let's just hop right in. The first book I read this year was The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. We're not here for like 2 hours. I'm gonna give like 2-sentence tiny baby summary as well as my rating, and then we're gonna move on. So Cheat Sheet, and the trope. So Cheat Sheet, it's a friends to lovers, like sports romance thing. She's a ballerina, he's a football player. It's an overall super cute rom-com and I rated it 4 stars. After that, I read my first nonfiction book, which is The Chapter President by Patrick Daly. If you don't know, I was president of my sorority this year, and a lot of people said like read this book because it basically like gives you a rundown on things and just it gives you an idea of what to do that maybe you guys weren't doing before. So I got a lot of ideas from that. After that, we have our first fantasy book of 2024, which was Heartless. Oh god. Heartless by Marissa Myers. This one, it's a retelling of The Queen of Hearts. I was just bored. Like, it wasn't bad, I was bored. So I think I rated it 3 stars because I liked the story, but there was nothing in me that wanted to like continue reading. After that, we have the first 5-star read of the year, The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I have never read a book in one sitting, and this one I basically did. Like, I only stopped because I was like, it's literally like 2 a.m. I can read these like last 50 pages tomorrow. 5-star, love it. Literally never read anything like this. One of the best books ever. The next 5-star read that came literally right after that one was Dial A for Aunties by Jessie Q Sutanto. This one I went in like not knowing what to expect. Loved it. Literally the funniest thing I ever read. I've never been like cackling out loud because of a book until I read this one. Next we have Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. A lot of people rated this 5-star. I personally, like, it was good, but I did not really get the hype, so I rated it 3.5. I'm still gonna read the book that comes after this, but I do not see what was like 5-star energy about it. Last book in this first pile is A Night Swim by Megan Goldwyn. This was like unlike anything that I ever read before. It was more, I think, true crime than thriller. It was so realistic. It just marks me, something that I'm never gonna forget. Even though I didn't rate it highly, I think I rated this 4 stars or like 3.75. It's something that it's gonna stay in my brain like forever, but not in like a way that I want it to stay in my brain forever, you know? After that, I read a huge series. I was gonna bring a reading vlog out on it, but I had a problem with my footage. So I'm just gonna show you these 2 books over here. So these are the novellas, Find Me and Unite Me. And then we have the entire box sets. Can we see? Entire box set of Shatter Me. So Shatter Me, Unravel Me, Ignite Me, Restore Me, Define Me, and Imagine Me. Where am I gonna put this? Let's just put this over here for now. I don't remember my exact ratings for all the books, but I'd say overall I'd give this series, I think most books were like in the 3.5 to like 4 range. I know book 4 and book 5 were 4-star reads. For that, I read another Lynn Painter book, Mr. Wrong Number. This was so funny. This was so good. I love this. Kind of took me by surprise. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did, and I rated it a 4.25 stars. This book I read, well, at first I listened to it through audio when I was driving, and I was literally tearing up. This wasn't exactly a 5-star, but it was like very, very close. And we have Most of All You by Mia Sheridan. I really hope we can see, because they have like lights right behind my camera. I can't tell if there's like glare, especially for the white books. This Most of All You by Mia Sheridan, 4.5 stars or 4.75. It was missing a little something to bring it to 5-star. My first year reading Mia Sheridan, and oh my god, like the trauma these characters have, the things that I felt for these characters, just wow, absolutely wow. Next we have Bound by Vengeance by Cora Riley. And this book, it's like the one that isn't really connected with the rest of the books. The rest of the books is like the the New York Familia and the Chicago outfit. But this one, it's your first like little view into Vegas, because there's like a spin-off series that like follows the Vegas Kimura, and this you kind of like see into that. I actually liked it more than the first 4 books. I feel like it's because I had no expectations at all going in. I didn't know these characters, so I could really like learn about them for the first time. But yeah, this book actually really surprised me, and I rated it 4.25 stars. We have a book that literally changed my life, because I got like fully invested into like country this year, and what I really think kind of like started everything was Flawless by Elsie Silver. As of now, this is still like the only book by Elsie Silver that I've read, but 4.75 stars, literally one of the best things ever. There's this one quote that, oh my god, like I have it in my head. My friend Julie is reading it, and I'm like, please tell me like what page this was said so I can tab it. Literally, wow, just this deserves all the hype that it gets. Going back to Mafia, we have Brutal Prince by Sophie Lark. A funny thing, I did not think I would want to read this. I put it off for so long, but oh my god, it was so good. It was so good. I have the next 2 books in the series. Have not read them yet, but that is definitely a project for 2025. Moving on to pile number 3. So we have Anchor by Candy Steiner. This series, it basically follows a group of like sorority girls and frat guys, and how I would describe it, it's as if you're watching a TV show. Every book from this series is like a 4-star read. It basically just think of like a guilty pleasure read. So good, 100% recommend. There's 7 books, but you literally fly through because it's so entertaining. Now I have a Mafia book that I didn't like as much. So The Sweetest Oblivion by Daniel Laurie, I rated this 3 stars. I honestly just got bored. Like, I was so much more interested in the other 2 books in the series that I was like, okay, I have to read book 1 first, but honestly, not my fave. After that, we have Wildfire by Hannah Grace. I absolutely loved Icebreaker. Loved Icebreaker. This one, I really liked it, not as much. I think I rated this 4.25 stars. Honestly, just like a super cute summary romance. I finally read this like super anticipated read for me, A Touch of Darkness. I rated it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I feel like it was kind of slow at times, so I'm like worried how the rest of the series is gonna go, but I really liked it, and I feel like a 4 star is like a pretty, like it's a pretty decent thing. It's a pretty decent number. Malibu Rising honestly kind of disappointed me. Like, I feel like I expected more because it was so hyped up for me. I really like Taylor Jenkins Reid, but I wasn't a fan of this. I was just bored. Like, the second half of the book, I really liked first half. It was just not for me. I read the second book of the Inheritance Game series, the Hawthorne Legacy. Oh my god. This one I didn't like as much as the first one, but I still rated it 4 stars. It was really good, but I feel like nothing can top the Inheritance Games because it was like such a new concept for me. You know, I never read anything like that. After that, I also read a book that was like very highly anticipated for me, and that was The Fury by Alex Michaelides. I loved The Silent Patient. I loved The Maidens. This one, I feel like I liked how the story was told in like a different way, but I feel like it just kind of fell flat for me. I rated it 3.5, which isn't bad, but I feel like I had hyped it up too much in my head. This book, it actually makes me so sad that I didn't enjoy it as much as I wanted to. It's Twisted Hate by Anna Huang. To be perfectly honest, Josh was never my favorite guy, but I knew people like loved this, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna love it also. I feel like it was mainly the trope and how they got together that just was not for me, because the other 2 books I really liked. I have very high expectations for Twisted Lies because I feel like the lead up to Twisted Lies is kind of like the lead up to Twisted Games. So I think I'm gonna like it. I hope I can get another 5-star in this series because it's really good. Like Twisted Love, it was I think 4.25. Twisted Games was 5 stars. This I rated a 3. It was still Anna Huang, it was still the Twisted series, it was still characters that I generally really like, but the book was just not doing it for me. So I feel like Twisted Lies could potentially be another 5-star read. I started a series that I'm so mad I did not start earlier. The Addicted Callaway series. I very recently like brought out my video, like a reading vlog, basically reading the first half of the series because I read the first half in 2024. I'm reading the second half in 2025. To be perfectly honest, at the beginning of the book, I was like, I don't get the hype. But then towards the end, I was like, oh my god, I know I'm gonna love this. I know I'm gonna eat this up. So first book, it was 4 stars. Not gonna talk too much about context because I did make an entire reading vlog, but it's a really good series. That's all I'm gonna say. It's a really, really good series. We have another 5-star read, The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. I found out about this before all the hype. I don't know why it took me so long to read it. I literally ate it up. 5-star read. Oh my god, it was literally one of the best things ever. I cannot wait to read the Atlas Compass and the Atlas Paradox. If you have not read it, please go read it. 5 stars. Amazing, absolutely amazing. Not so amazing, we have Dance of Thieves by Mary Pearson. It's not that it was a bad storyline, I just feel like her writing style is just like not for me. It's like kind of slow. Yes, it's like things happen, but it feels like nothing really happens. I rated it as 3 stars because I did like the characters, I liked the banter. It was just the pacing I feel like was a little bit off. So The Insiders by Tejan. I don't hear anyone talking about this. And I feel like the premise sounded so good. Like the hype up to it seemed super good. The execution, I was not a huge fan of. I feel like I had built up expectations in my head. I rated this 3.5 stars. Like I'm gonna continue the little trilogy, but I feel like I expected more out of it. So we will see what I think of the rest. I read Colleen Hoover. No, I read Layla by Colleen Hoover. This is like, I'm basically just getting rid of like all the Colleen Hoover books I have on my shelf. It was just very mid for me. I rated it 3 stars. Like it wasn't good, it wasn't bad, it wasn't like out of this world. Just like very mid 3-star energy. Stay With Me by Mila Gray really surprised me. Like I found this book randomly on Book Outlet because after watching Top Gun Maverick, I was like, oh my god, Army. Looking at the cover, I would have thought it was like YA. It's not YA, there's so much more depth to it, and I actually really, really like this. I rated this 4.25 stars. Exceeded all of my expectations. This didn't reach 5-star, but it was very high up there. Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. Wow. I feel like this year was like me discovering that I love like small town like cowboy romances. I rated this 4.75 stars. I cannot wait to read the rest of the books. I have the next 2 books. The 4th book is coming out. I want to say April, but I could be completely wrong. I am gonna power through the series, so I'm allowed to buy the 4th book when it comes out. The fantasy that really surprised me for the depth that it had and like the darkness it had around it was House of Salt and Sorrow by Aaron A. Craig. This was like so much darker than I expected, but in a good way. Like this is honestly the perfect thing to get into fall. It's like creepy, it's just gothic, you know? It's not like scary, it's gothic, it sets the mood. Like picture like rain, you're curled up in a blanket, it's fall, not winter, pouring down rain, you have a candle or like a fireplace, some like ambiance, like creepy music. This is what you want to read. It's basically a 12 Dancing Princesses retelling, and I went in with very low expectations, exceeded all of them. Literally so good, so creepy, and perfect. I think I rated it as 4 stars. This was the one small town romance that I did not like, and I feel like it was like too spicy for me. Like there was a plot, but I feel like it was not the main focus. This book is under 300 pages. You guys don't need to get at it like literally every 30 pages. So I wasn't a huge fan of it. I think I rated it to like 2.75 stars because it just wasn't doing it for me. And it's called Bless Your Heart by Lyra Parrish. It's a series that I think has like 7 books, but it's basically like all the siblings from this family. I do not know if I'm going to continue this series. I think I might try the 2nd book just to see is it going to be different, but personally I do not think that it's for me. Accidentally Amy really took me by surprise. It was such a short, sweet, and fun fall book. I rated it 4.25 stars. Just like super cute, gets you in the fall spirit. it's just like, it's just cute, fun fall vibes. That's basically how I can describe it. Cute, fun fall vibes. Definitely recommend. We have another 5-star read, Before We Were Strangers by Renee Carlino. I have never connected to characters as much as I had in this book. What I feel for Grace particularly, I've never felt for any fictional character ever in my life. Please read this. It's literally one of the best things ever. I cried 11 times reading it. I have never cried so much reading a book, but it's like, I cried 11 times. That shows like the emotion that I had attached to these characters. This next book, I did not expect to like as much as I did because I was more anticipating the first book. But the first book like didn't hit the spot. I wasn't a huge fan, and I feel like it was my lack of expectations going into the second one that made me love it so much. And that's Collided by Lauren Asher. It's the second book in the Dirty Air series. I fell in love with this book. I did read it like F1 weekend, so it was like all the vibes. This book, literally one of the best things ever. If you have not read the series, please go read it. And do you see all the tabs I have? I just, wow, just 5 stars. Literally, I love Sophie and Liam so much. We have the next 2 books in the Addicted Calloway sister series. So Ricochet, yes, Ricochet, and then Addicted for Now. I think Ricochet rated 4 stars because it was shorter. It felt like weird rating it the same as like a bigger book. And then Addicted for Now, I also rated 4 stars. This series is so good, but I feel like I didn't get that 5-star rated just yet. So I was like, okay, I'm not gonna, like, I know it's coming, so I'm gonna like wait because I know that's gonna exceed all my expectations. After that, I read Hooked by oh my god, Emily McIntyre. I wanted to read this for so long, and I feel like I really liked it. I rated it 3.75 stars. I feel like I wasn't expecting the main character to act the way that she did. It was like very naive, and I feel like, yes, she was like very sheltered, but I wasn't a huge fan of that. Like, I was able to see past that at some point, but I feel like that's why it was so low. I am kind of expecting this from other main characters in the series. Once again, I don't know if it's like a one-off thing or it's like all the characters are like this, but I feel like knowing what to expect going into Scarred, I'm gonna enjoy it more. I read my first Mariana Zapata book this year, and it would have been great if it wasn't for a certain piercing on a certain body part. I think of that, like, it's weird, but every book I read, sometimes I think about that and I'm like, oh god, no. So I rated this 3.75 because of that. Like, if it wasn't for that, it would have been like 4.25, but I really could not see past that. The book was Under Lock by Mariana Zapata. I could not see past that piercing because it just made me like, no. It made me feel so uncomfortable. We have another 2 books in the Addicted Calloway series. So Kiss the Sky, which is Rose and Connor's book. This is the one I was the most excited for, and I feel like I had hyped it up too much because like they were my favorite couple. Like, I love being in Connor's head, but I feel like I expected it to be a 5-star. It was not a 5-star. It was a 4.25. It was still really good, but I feel like I needed a little bit more. However, we finally got our 5-star read with a Hot House Flower. I really hope we can see Hot House Flower. Oh my god. With Daisy and Ryke, they're such like secretive characters. Like Daisy, you don't know what she's going through. Ryke is just a very like secretive person in general. And when you see in their head, you're like, oh my god, you poor soul, you poor soul. I feel like now that I've seen everyone's book, I can go into Thrive and the rest of the books with like a different mindset because I know these characters. I've been in their head for like 400 pages at least. Like, I understand them on like a whole other level. The next book I read was Luck and Last Resorts by Sarah Gunder Ruiz. And this book, it was like a rom-com I did not know I was gonna like. This was just something random I picked up because I was like, oh, it looks cute. And then I was like, you know what, let's read it. I don't have any like strong ties to it, but let's just read it. I found it so cute. I rated it 3.75 stars. Just like a super cute summer romance, and it's set on a boat, which I feel like, I mean, now I'm seeing more books that are set on boats, but I feel like I've never heard of a romance set on a boat, which like is not anything revolutionary, right? But I never saw it before, and I was like, I actually really like that like whole change in setting. This book, I do not understand why people rate it as a 5-star read. I felt very uncomfortable reading it. I only finished reading it because I was like reading it for a reading vlog, and that's Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. This book made me feel so uncomfortable. Just the whole trope, I'm like, in no possible world people are gonna feel okay with us. Like, whether, like, how no, no. If you like this book, please explain to me why, because I genuinely I just have so many questions. I read my first actual horror book, and it's called, oh god, Just Like Home by Sarah Gailey. It wasn't bad, but I feel like it wasn't like hitting the spot. I rated it 3 stars. I enjoyed my time reading it because it was creepy, but I just wasn't an overall fan. Like, I feel like 3 stars is a more accurate representation of like what I felt than like a 2.75. Honestly, would not, like, the cover is pretty, the cover is cute and it's pink. Would not necessarily recommend. Last nonfiction book that I finished this year was 101 Essays, oh god. 101 Essays That Will Change the Way You Think. I really like this book. It kind of like opened my eyes on a bunch of things. It kind of like reinforced certain things that I knew. And there's definitely a bunch of like lessons that I learned through it. I definitely recommend. But I feel like Brianna Wiest, I don't know how to pronounce her name. Her book, The Mountain Is You, I feel like I learned so much more. That's what I'm currently reading. It's like not yet finished, so it's not on this like wrap up. But I feel like I've learned more because that's more on like self-sabotage. This is just like overall things, and I would recommend, like, obviously I do recommend this, but I would recommend that more. We have The Game by Scott Kershaw. This I just found randomly at Indigo one day and I was like, let's pick it up. It was so good. It was so good. I rated 4.25 stars. I felt so much anxiety. I've never seen this kind of trope before. I loved it. I'm not gonna say anything because it is a thriller, but I definitely recommend. Like, it's definitely gonna keep you hooked. Another thriller I read was The Wife Between Us by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. So I read An Anonymous Girl by them like maybe 2 years ago and I really liked it. This book I didn't like as much as that, but I still really enjoyed it because you go the first half of the book believing one thing and then you're like, oh my god, wait a minute. What I was like led to believe is like completely wrong. And then it's all these secrets and it's like, who was like the good guy? You know, I love thrillers that it's like we thought someone was like the bad guy, but turns out like they're not the bad guy. I love stuff like that. Definitely recommend these 2 authors. I think they have another book out. Don't know what it's called, but I definitely want to get to that. And then we have all the Christmas books that I read. So the first one was So This Is Christmas by Tracy Andreen. This one, I rated it, I think 3.75 because it is YA, but it was still like super cute. We have All I Want for Christmas by Maggie Knox. This I rated 4.25, I think. This was like TV show, reality TV. Like the first half, I was like, okay, this is moving kind of fast. I'm not a huge fan. But then I found out, okay, like why the pacing was moving fast, and I really recommend. There's It Happened One Christmas by Chantal Gertin. I didn't realize this book took place like in the province that I live in. I did like how homey it felt, so I rated this 4 stars. The Christmas Wager by Holly Cassidy was so fun. It was like a Christmas holiday wars because there's a bet. Super fun. And then literally it took me by surprise. We have How My Neighbor Stole Christmas. I don't know if I'm gonna rate this 5 star because it feels weird rating a Christmas book 5 star, but 4.75. I love this book so much. The perfect thing ever. The perfect thing ever. And there's pictures and like just it's so perfect. So I finished the year with like a super fun read. But yeah, these are all the books that I read this year. I think I have 60 books. Obviously I didn't read as much as I would have wanted. Like my goal was 100 books, but I was in school. I didn't really read during the month of March and during the month of like September and November. So given that I read 60 books, it's still like super good. 2025 might be the year that I get to 100. I'm really gonna try because I have to. At some point I have to. And it's like I have just over 100. I mean, I think I have 130 books on my shelf that I have not read yet. So technically, if I read 100 books, that's like everything on my physical CBR. I have to read over 100 books this year. So I really hope everyone enjoyed today's video. If you did, definitely hit the subscribe button and leave a thumbs up. Also, all my socials are down below if you do want to go check me out over there. Happy 2025, and I hope that like we all get to our reading goal this year. Mine is gonna be 100. Let me know what yours is. And you know, we're gonna like encourage each other at the end of every month. Be like, we got this, let's go. Like, we're gonna get to that number this year. I need to clean up this entire mess, and I'm also gonna start reading because we are actually getting to 100 books this year. So stay safe, protect your vibe, and I'll see you all next time. Bye guys.